Hello, everyone. This is Ken Baczynski, and in a moment, you're going to hear my general lecture and presentation on landlord-tenant law during the COVID period. I just want to tell you that in working with the people at Quimbee, they have been fantastic. Unfortunately, after my lecture was completed, there was a little bit of a U-turn handed to us by the U.S. Supreme Court. So I just want to give you a note that at the very outset, please listen to the general lecture. And at the end, we have an add-on piece which I've added because on August 26th, literally days after we completed recording this, the U.S. Supreme Court handed down a decision that kind of changed some of the portion of my presentation. Unfortunately, and I apologize for the inconvenience, unfortunately, in this area, there have been many, many changes of the law that have happened kind of quickly, and it has made it a little bit of a moving target, so to speak, folks. So I just want to remind you, there's an add-on piece at the very, very end, which I discuss what that change is. And I'm just inviting you to stay on and listen to the very end because it will change some of the things I said. So if you go back and listen to that, particularly with the CDC, you'll understand what that means later on. Things have changed, and we want to make sure that we got you the most up-to-date information as possible. So thank you for your attention, and I hope you enjoy the lecture. Folks, good afternoon. My name is Ken Baczynski, and I am an attorney who practices in the state of New Jersey. I am licensed in the state of New Jersey, and I am so happy to be with you guys today. I mean that. And I first of all want to congratulate you for being involved in taking a Quimbee course. Quimbee is a fantastic company. They really have some great ideas. I have no affiliation to them. They've just asked me to come on and speak, so this is not a sales pitch, but I just want to tell you that they do a great job. This presentation, on a large part because of what they do, should be very interesting. And the folks are fantastic. And I want to first of all thank Jillian for being really just so top flight professional and top shelf. So with that, let's get into this. Now today what we're going to talk about is we're going to have a general discussion about the recent trends in landlord-tenant law. Originally I was going to talk just about residential, but I thought I'd throw some commercial aspects in. And what I always like to start with on any CLE course is I always like to start with, because I know when I'm sitting there listening to a lecture myself, why are we doing this? What do we need to do this for? Well, I don't think there's any secret that in this country, at least, as a matter of fact, in the large part of the world, that from March of 20 until, let's call it August 31st, it's not August 31st yet, or maybe by the time you listen to it, it is, but let's go from March 1st, 2020 to August 31st, 2021. And to borrow from a recent piece of legislation here in the great state of New Jersey, I'm going to call that the covered period. So anyone dealing with the covered period or has been alive during the covered period who's been watching the news knows that there has been this looming eviction concern, which is not only engaging us here in the state of New Jersey, but certainly the country. And the question is becoming, how are we getting through this as attorneys, which is what you and I are doing and what we practice in. So what this course is designed to do is to talk about that problem, give some thoughts and ideas, and offer some real-life suggestions based on practical realities of what I do in my practice. Now, not to spend too much time on me, but just to give you some point of reference. I'm an attorney who's been licensed and practicing in the state of New Jersey since 1993, and one of the things that I've explained to Quimbee is that, and I think one of the reasons why I'm on here is New Jersey is a very, very progressive state. So in other words, this is not just simply a state where we don't really have any involvement or any heavy ties or any heavy lifting going on with landlord-tenant law. As a matter of fact, on the residential side, basically if you look at some of the census numbers, approximately 37% of our housing stock is rental. Certainly because of what has happened in the recent times in the covered period, a lot of businesses have migrated to the state of New Jersey, so there's a lot of landlord-tenant work here. So as a starting point, I guess let me say that this is something that's important because it's going to affect us all, whether you're in California, New Jersey, Texas. This is something that is on everyone's mind and everyone has to deal with as an attorney. And again, also just to kind of finish my thought as to why do we talk about this, why do we get involved? Invariably, people will say to me, well, I'm not a landlord-tenant practitioner, so what do I need to do this for? Well, the reason why you need to do this is because as a practitioner in most states, unless you're going to have really nothing to do with the civil side, so for example, if you're doing, I'm making this up, folks, if you're doing intellectual property, Perhaps if you're doing criminal work, if you're doing securities work, yeah, maybe you won't need to know landlord-tenant. But if you're going to represent a business, if you're going to do property law, and a lot of times people do lump us in the category of real property attorneys, which I'm not. I don't handle transactions or closings and so forth. You'll run into invariably the situation. So, for example, if you buy a business, your client may buy a business subject to a commercial residential tenant. You may be called upon at some point to draft a lease. You may be called upon sometime in litigation to review a lease and advise a client on how to litigate that case because of the lease.